Hello and welcome to episode 232 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by perplexed Matthew Figuera. I don't know. What are you looking at? What's going on?
I hit record this week. We're good.
Oh dear God. Okay, good. Were you just making sure?
I'd have to make the mistake once. It'll never happen again now. Maybe.
I'm certain you've done this before.
I'm
almost certain we've had an episode where we were recording for 10 minutes and you're like, wait, we need to restart. Wait.
That's happened once and never again. So
I can't even remember if that was you forgetting to hit record or something just went wrong.
I do remember there was one. It's not at all the one you're talking about. There was one episode where I don't know why, but there was some other muscle memory. I clicked on my Google Doc to make a note, and I changed scene or something because we were going to cut back to whatever it was, gameplay or just talking. And then I hit stop record on my Audacity, and I was like, wait, hang on.
Oh, I do remember this, yes. And we had to do a whole clap in between and
I don't know what
splice them together.
Hang on, let me stop the video. Let me stop the audio. We've got to... No, listeners will never know. But there's
also been those instances where like one of us is disconnected, but both of us have been savvy enough to be like, just let it continue recording.
Yeah, we'll stitch it together.
Yeah, because we can fix this. If both of us stop, it will be impossible. Like this will be a nightmare.
I don't think anyone could ever know the headache of. Well, I mean, it sounds very dumb when I say it out loud, but you never understand the headache of podcasting unless you podcast and you see what can go wrong.
Like I think especially so with what you're doing and like actual live production. Well, it's like not trivial.
That part's not bad. I mean, there's a little bit of prep. Like, do I have footage for whatever we're talking about? Do I have all the news up? Do all the scenes work? Have I hit record? Which is what didn't happen. What didn't happen last week? But I was telling you before we started recording that because Discord had some other issue last week. I don't know if it was my line or your line or Discord just being dumb. There was some lag, and it's weird because the audio is fine, but the video sync up with your audio, despite us having like a separate audio file and video file, and the clap and everything, your audio kept going. It was either too fast or too slow for like the whole episode. There were moments where long stretches where it was fine, but there were 2 or 3 long stretches where it's just like, I cut your audio, I moved it forward to sync you up. And then like 10 seconds later, it was off again. So I had to cut that audio, rewind it back. I was like, oh my God, how long does this go for?
That sounds awful. That sounds awful.
Yeah, but I mean, you would never know unless you have a podcast. You don't know what sort of things can go wrong. I hope it doesn't
happen. I hope it doesn't happen again this week, because I do think it's a combination of like if Discord has a slight issue and then in conjunction with the distance between you and I now, like it will just cause havoc. Because on a good day, the latency is already like quite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite significant. It's a good, third of a second. So that doesn't make it ideal.
No. But it's fun.
But yeah, I don't think there are any other like ways around it. It's like it is a physical limitation thing,
And I don't know. Unless
it's like
playing.
Oh, no. It's just like playing games overseas. It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a distance thing. There's nothing about speed there.
How do big companies like the kind of funnies of the world, I mean, they don't do it anymore. They've obviously got their nice big studio now, but during COVID and even post-COVID, for a long time, they did remote recording, and it's not just 2 people. It's like, I've seen episodes where there's 4 or 5 plus people.
Yeah, but they're still closer together. So
even
though it's across like the states, it's considerably closer.
No, but I mean, even just the act of the admin of the admin of like producing. I can't think of because even what we have here, it's like, cool, I've got your Discord window, I pop it out, I cut it out, put it in a scene. I can't imagine having a third person on the show because I wouldn't know the logistics around it. We've got, for the record, we've got a scene where there's 3 borders. We could have a third person, but logistically, I don't know how we would do that.
I think you start getting into like more specialized software at that point. Like I don't know if Kind of Funny uses it as well, but I know a lot of other podcasts do, like Giant Bomb, because they still recording
They're doing
exclusively almost remotely. They use a program called vMix, which I looked into. For us, it's just,
oh god, I'm sure it's expensive.
It's expensive for what we do. It just doesn't make sense for us. But like when you're bigger, the sort of like production level stuff it gives you is kind of insane. Like it kind of like manages the hosting of the audio. So you like create almost a session, and then everyone gets a link, and then they connect to that session. So everyone's connected like directly to that session of vMix. So it helps with audio delay and syncing things up, and then it just helps with the whole video production around that. It's a program specifically built for that sort of production. So yeah, it is cool. It's just like, I think it's like over $1,000 a year or something like that. It's a lot of money. Yeah,
it's chump change.
It's also quite difficult to kind of I looked at the trial for a while, and it's like complicated. Yeah, if you've got your head around it, I think it's very useful. But even then, like I know Jan at Giant Bomb, who does exactly what you're doing now. He's on a podcast while live producing it. Like it's still a pain. Like he's still like fucking flipping switches here and there and doing this with scenes. He's got one of the little Elgato Stream Deck things to help with scenes. And yeah, so yeah, don't worry. The struggle's always real, no matter what tools you have, I think.
Well, I'm going to point something out that you're never going to unsee now, and I don't know why. Why? Okay. And it's funny because it speaks directly to what we've just spoken about now. Look at our scene here. Okay, now look to your left, or I suppose bottom right if you look at the recording. Why is there a block that lights up green when I speak? Has that always been there? Because I've never noticed it before.
What block?
Can you not see it on your side? Just so to your left, I can't show you. I can't even show you with my mouse. I can sit on my side. Maybe
there. Interesting.
That's never been there before, and it lights up every time I speak.
That's the Discord interface. Yeah.
Why is that there? Hang on, let's just
weird.
How do I make that
weird?
Go away?
Yeah, I've never noticed that. Maybe it's always been there. Who knows?
What is this?
I wonder if it's like.
We're pulling back the curtain. Oh my god, I can move it. Okay, hang on. Let me just get that out of here.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Live production. Oh my god. Okay, now I've just changed my Discord view to only be me, which is not what I want at all.
How do I make this go away? I'm so scared to click like close because it's like, oh, the call's over. Close DM.
No, don't do that.
That's not what you want to do. Okay, so let's just hope Alessandro didn't stop recording. Oh my heavens.
So Matthew just ended our Discord call by accident.
Join video call. Wait, where are you?
I can't.
Where's your video gone now?
I don't know. I can't see your video either. What is it?
This is you didn't stop recording, did you?
I didn't, but I was
great.
just like, Matthew just ended our call. What happened?
This is great. This is live production. We really have come full circle.
As soon as you were like, what happens if I end DM? I was like, oh fuck. And then you just were gone.
I just ended the call. Well, we can either do the whole episode without your face, or you can phone me back. It's your choice.
Okay, I'll phone back. Okay. Oh,
love to see it. Oh my god. Now here we go. We've got a blank white border. I don't know if Alessandro's talking his side. We'll never know. Only in post-production will we know if we're talking over each other. Oh my god. It's good to have you back.
I still can't see you, so
oh,
that's a problem.
Hang on, I need to share my screen. This is great. This is the best content we've ever made in our lives. There we go.
Oh my god.
Best. And I still have that. What's wrong?
I'm just mirrored now.
Oh, did I share the wrong screen?
Also, I can hear myself.
What? This is okay.
Oh, I'm muting the stream. That's why.
Okay. On my side, everything's good. Okay, we back
what?
to normal.
I can only see myself.
No, you need to click on the
on your stream. Yeah, that's all I can see.
Okay. Let me stop streaming, share my screen, share my OBS. There we go. That should be right now. Hang on.
Yeah, that's right.
Good God,
That's
let's
right.
never do that again. That green bar at the bottom right, I don't know if that's always been there, but it lives in the podcast now. I'm sorry. I tried to fix it live.
Oh my God.
It
Okay,
lives
I'm
there
going to
now.
just I'm not going to leave this all in. We'll just leave a timestamp and be like, this is where you cut the call and this is where we re-introed.
Oh, whatever. I'm leaving it in. It's perfect.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about video games.
Oh my God. Okay, so Matthew just ended the Discord call by complete accident, or on purpose. I don't know anymore.
Definitely not on purpose.
Well, I mean, did someone make you click the buttons?
No, I
rest my case.
just clicked because I was curious.
Do you know what else I'm curious about?
Yeah, hey.
Space. Space.
The Final Frontier.
Oh my God. Okay, now it says you've paused your stream. I don't know what's happening today.
Okay, I'm just going to stop tinkering. There we go. I haven't paused nothing. I'm trying to move the
space, yes.
stupid block. Okay, carry on.
Oh my goodness,
Space.
it's paused again.
No, you just carry on. I'm doing stuff on my side. Space.
Okay. Starfield. Starfield is out. Well, weird. Okay, Starfield is out, technically. You can pay money and play Starfield now, even while hearing this. But you'll have to pay I think $100. I don't know what the local price
stupid
is
amount
for that.
of money actually to get early access.
Because it's like the premium edition of the game that comes with early access. And I guess by the time you're hearing this, if you're thinking about it, then you might as well just wait the 2 days because it's out on September 6th proper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's out now on Xbox Series X and S and PC. We didn't have access to early review code. I don't think there was anyone even locally who had access. You'll see later in the news that a lot of people don't have access. I can still see your toolbar on your Windows thing anyway.
What? Why?
Yeah, there we go.
The show's a mess.
So yeah, I mean it's not a huge deal. We got the early access, quote unquote code on the day of release. So I've only rarely had the chance to play it yesterday evening because I was at work and so this is the briefest of brief first impressions before we dive into a more articulated review down the line. But so far I can say that the opening is quite striking. I think just off the bat, this game looks really good. The character models, I know Bethesda made a big deal about the character models in the trailers leading up to the game. And, rightly so, a lot of people were like, this still looks kind of stiff and weird and their eyes look kind of like they're looking through you. And I agreed. But at least in this opening section with these first few interactions with people, it's a drastic improvement over previous Bethesda games. If I go back to, what is their last one? I guess Fallout 76 technically is the last one, but it wasn't necessarily made by them. So Fallout 4, it is night and day difference. And that extends to just the rest of the visual makeup of the game. This is definitely a big upgrade in terms of fidelity and details that I've ever seen in a Bethesda title. It just looks modern, whereas when Fallout 4 came out, it looked like a Fallout, but still behind the times of what a big budget AAA game should probably look like, because it's trading fidelity for scope.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this has got a really, really good look to it, a really good aesthetic. You'll see later there's the first ship that you see and the first city that you land in, and it all looks very nice. That whole I hate the term, the whole NASA punk thing that they had going. Like, I think that term is strange and silly, but like, I get it. It is a very, they've stuck to realism as much as they can. You know, like what would space travel look like in the not too distant future? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's sci-fi, but it's like very grounded sci-fi. By what I can tell, it's not Star Wars. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that part of it has really kind of sucked me in immediately because I'm a sucker for that sort of sci-fi and those sort of aesthetics. I can already tell 2 hours in, this is straight up a Bethesda game. So like, if you were hoping that Starfield was some departure from the sort of structure or feel, at least, of a Skyrim or a Fallout, it doesn't seem like it. It just seems like that sort of thing in a much bigger world. Yeah. Which can cut both ways. Like, I don't know, I'm weird, man. Like, I don't like Skyrim. I think Skyrim is boring, but I also think Skyrim is boring because I expected its main story to be interesting, and that's like probably the worst part of it. Yeah. Where a lot of people will be like, no, you're meant to play the side quests and not actually focus on the story. And I'm like, I get that, but it's an RPG. Like, I went in there expecting a good main story. Whereas when I think about Bethesda games I absolutely love, I think about Fallout 3 and to a large extent Fallout New Vegas, which was Obsidian, not necessarily Bethesda. Yeah. And I liked Fallout 4 as well. Like, I think it comes down to me preferring Fallout's aesthetic and world far more than Skyrim's high fantasy. Because the games are identical, I think. I think systems-wise and design-wise, they are very much the same. Yeah. And I think Starfield's going to fall into that bucket. Like, am I going to fall in love with the aesthetic and the world and kind of ignore the shortcomings of the quest structures and the story, which, according to a lot of reviews that came out this week, the main story is the weakest part of the game again, which I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand how Bethesda can make these incredible side quests that people are like lauding them for, but then the main quest is like just rote, and I don't get it. Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. This is much more of a shooter than anything else they've made. You know, like Fallout has guns, but Fallout is not necessarily... I mean, Fallout 4 was very much... Yeah, Fallout 4 was quite a bit more of a shooter than Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was like almost a turn-based game. Yeah, I was going to say
the VAT system is what separates Fallout from the rest of the stuff, I guess, because you can 100% go and just shoot people, but like the right thing to do would be to like pause and choose where you're going to shoot, how you're going to approach the situation, whatever. So it's interesting.
Fallout 4 like de-emphasized that like quite a bit, and then Fallout 76 completely made it stupid because you couldn't actually pause the game because it was online. So like your VAT system was always like a slow down thing. It was Starfield is straight up a shooter.
It's just like a shooter.
It's like, you know, it's not on the level of like a Destiny where you're just moving from point to point and, you know, I think you still have some wiggle room to maybe be a melee character but the first weapon they give you is a gun. And you are thrust into a shootout very quickly. Thankfully the shooting feels good. I think it feels pretty, I mean, I've only ever, in the first hour or two, I've only picked up like 2 or 3 different weapons, and they feel quite nice. They feel a bit floaty, but otherwise the gunplay feels good. Enemies are still a bit stupid. They just run towards you, so that's kind of like, what are you doing? Yeah. But it's cool. Like the firefights are quite nice. And I think like I'm definitely going to specialize like either in ballistics weapons or like laser weapons or like, and depending on. From what I can tell, like the more you use specific weapons that are tied to specific perks, the more you'll upgrade that perk. Okay. So you have to use like a skill point to unlock a perk for the first like tier. Yeah. But then after that, I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm not entirely sure if you can then spend more points to upgrade that perk or if you have to make use of that perk to upgrade it. Yeah. So it's almost like it's kind of growing your character according to the way you play the game. Yeah. So like already I started based on the background I chose for my character. I started with a point in like pistol specialization.
Yeah.
And then it upgraded already because I killed like 20 people with a pistol.
Yo.
So it's like stuff like that.
That's quite a Bethesda thing though as well. I mean, I always think of playing any of the Elder Scrolls, like if you run and jump enough, stat goes
you're
up.
right.
Yeah,
You upgrade those
Just
stats.
from
Skyrim
doing
was
stuff,
very much like that.
Yeah.
No, that is true. So yeah, I don't know if you want to fast forward quickly to some gunplay. Yeah, because I spend a bunch of time in this.
Let's just look at this character creator. Well, before you bounce, I do want to say that from what I've seen, I mean, I haven't played the game myself, but just the level of background and traits, it feels like there's a lot of customization. Like there's a lot of role playing in that regard, which is very cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of backgrounds and then a bunch of like you have to choose like 3 traits to assign yourself.
Yeah.
I really struggled to get to like assign a third one because I like 2 of them and the rest I didn't like think were that useful but I guess that's part of the point. It's like they're all debuffs and buffs that change the way you play.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching this footage and think it looks a bit like janky, that's straight up just the way I recorded it using PC. It just recorded in a weird format, and it was running really smoothly on PC.
Yeah, it's not indicative of how it runs on PC.
No, not at all. Not at all. It ran pretty great on PC. It looks really nice. It is a bit like heavy resource-wise, I think. I mean, I'm on a 3080 Ti, and I was running at 1440p, and it was just hovering over 60.
Oh, nice.
So it is. It's quite hectic.
Yeah. This will be a nice little game to test out my machine with. See if the thermals
I think your machine will cope just fine with this. I think. I think lower spec machines are going to struggle. But even I was watching some videos of like people trying to run it at 4K and even 4090 struggling to hit like 70, 80 frames per second. So it's a heavy game.
Yeah.
The one thing that I don't think you realize from the footage, and it was kind of jarring when it first happened, was how disjointed the world actually is. So, okay, so this is a test. How do you expect traversal works between planet, surface, and space?
Planet, surface, and space. You get into a spaceship.
Like get into a spaceship and just fly off the planet.
Yeah.
Like No Man's Sky vibe.
Yeah, well, like
that's not how it works.
Like every other form of space travel I've seen in my life. How does it work?
So I was under the impression, maybe I wasn't focusing enough on, the trailers and whatever, but I was under the impression that you could just like take off and fly into the sky and
that's it.
That was it.
Oh no,
that's not how it works.
Is it like loading screens and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's even a loading screen to get into your ship.
What?
Yeah, so you go to like your cargo hold and you press a button and you see a door open and a loading screen and then you're in your ship. And then you get into the pilot seat and you press takeoff and then it's like, cool, enter orbit, loading screen. Then you're in orbit.
I wonder if this isn't a limitation of the Xbox Series S. Purely because like why would you break it up like that? Even just to get into your ship. Like
I think it's more just a limitation of the way it's broken up reminds me a lot of previous Bethesda games. So I wonder if the engine is just,
you think
it's built to handle loading that way. Yeah. So when you're in orbit and you want to say land back on a planet, you have to, this is the part that kind of bugs me. You have to open up your like inventory or your character, whatever, the menu.
Yeah.
And then navigate to the map. And then it will bring up the planet you're nearby on. And then you have to rotate the planet and there's multiple like different there could be one, there could be multiple landing zones. Then you have to press that and then like hold a button and then you'll travel to the planet and then you'll land there. And so now if you're in orbit and you want to travel to another planet, you've got to do the same thing. Then you've got to press like B to zoom out to like a solar system level of where you are. Then you press B again to zoom out to a more galaxy level thing. Then you chart the course to like the solar system you want to go. You press, you drill down into there. and you go to the planet that you want, and you can go straight to like a landing zone there. So you go, it almost like it's a fast travel straight from where you are to that landing zone, or you can be like, no, I want to fast travel to orbit of that planet, but then you have to go through the same process again to land. So it's like
a lot of admin.
It also makes the universe feel like not alive. It just, you don't get a sense of travel between one or the other. So if everything is just a fast travel point, it might as well be just different cities with different visual makeups. You don't get a sense of actually moving between one or the other, you know what I mean?
Look, it's weird because all that said, I do, if I sit and I think, again, like I'm not a game developer by any means, but I can't wrap my head around how would it look just arriving at a planet and just straight up landing. You know what I mean? What does that transition look like? So I don't know if they tried it, they're like, we just can't nail this, or if it is the thing of, it just makes more sense to like, hey, we're going to separate space and planet exploration, and they're just two completely separate things. You'll link them with a loading screen, which is fine, but it is weird. Like, I completely get you where it takes away from, the natural feel, quote unquote, of exploring different planets and flying around. Like, how cool, like, I don't know, maybe you haven't seen this yet, but if I'm playing, for example, and I see a planet in the distance and I fly there, I kind of like the idea of just flying around it and just deciding to land somewhere. How does that work now? I go to that planet and then it's like, no. You hear.
Yeah, it almost feels like, so I tried to kind of do that, like move around a planet or move closer to it, and it just felt like I wasn't moving. Like, as if I was just hovering in midair. So... yeah, it is quite jarring, and I'm not going to be like, oh, if a game like No Man's Sky can do it, this can do it. Like, they are, they're completely different games. Like,
does No Man's Sky do that? Fine, you can literally just land on a planet, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
No Man's Sky is literally like, you take off, you look at the sky, and you just like jet your way up, and then you're in atmosphere.
Okay.
And like, it's completely seamless. But like, No Man's Sky also doesn't have anywhere near the level of like detail and fidelity that is trying to be loaded in from one planet to the next. So, I get it. I understand why. It just still feels a bit weird.
Yeah.
And the menus for navigating between galaxies is already a bit cumbersome, and I can see it being a problem. So, yeah. But that's like my very brief early impressions of that. I've only just kicked off the story. I've like, you start as a miner and you discover this artifact, and suddenly this guy's like, you need to come to this group of people called Constellation who, figure out the mysteries of the galaxy, and like, you're our savior. Like, you very quickly are like, you are some very important person because you found some glowing rocks in a mine.
This dude just handed you a Garmin watch. Amazing.
Yeah, I know. This dude's so generous. He gives you a watch and his ship.
Just straight up.
What a dude. What a
guy.
Yeah.
I will say before we bounce that, like, again, I haven't played the game, but looking at the footage you recorded, visually, I love the design of the spacesuits and stuff. They look very detailed. The character models look quite good. So this is a weird game for me because, like, the last Bethesda game I played probably was, like, I missed Skyrim. I don't know why. I just never played it through all the iterations and all the re-releases and remasters. I've just never touched it. I think the last Bethesda game I properly played was Fallout 3. And I've told you this before, but I loved Fallout 3. I played the hell out of it until I reached the level cap, and I was like, I just bounced. But
you never finished the story?
I never finished the story. But I mean,
oh my God.
Think how long ago Fallout 3 was. That was a lifetime ago.
2007, if I'm not mistaken.
Really long time ago. And I enjoyed it a lot. And I've just missed Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim. So I'm not hyped for Starfield necessarily, and that's not a knock against Bethesda at all. It's just I don't have a track record with them, but I'm like, not cautious, that's the wrong word. I'm curious to try it out. Like, I'm definitely going to try it out. And see.
I definitely think it's a game you should give a go. I'm also not knowing you and the types of games you enjoy.
I'll probably enjoy.
I'm not sure. Yeah, you might like. I can also see a lot of pieces of it that will cause friction with you that you'll be like, this is kind of not my jam, you know.
Whatever.
So,
I'm just gonna mainline the story.
I don't know. It's a tough sell. Well, not a tough sell again. Like, I think people who are looking for a game to sink into for the next couple of weeks, who, you know, don't have the fortune of having access to like every release that is coming out now, I think this is like the perfect game.
Yeah.
But like with so much quality coming out in the next 2 months, like will Starfield hold my attention completely? I don't know. I will say that it's made a very good, strong first impression. So that's good.
That's a win. Yeah, but it's quite a year, and it's actually wild to think that, you know, Starfield, a Bethesda title, like, is it going to be Game of the Year? Because there's just so much other good stuff.
I think without Baldur's Gate 3 out this year, it would probably be there for RPG of the year just by virtue of being an RPG. But like, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has completely warped people's sense of what a role-playing game should be and what its sense of freedom. And you can already see that there's already been comparisons made being like, Starfield doesn't give me the level of freedom that a game like Baldur's Gate does. And this is exactly what people were saying a month ago. Like, this game is going to change the way RPGs are made because the expectation is different.
It's changed. So, good luck to RPG developers.
Yeah, I know. Good luck.
Well,
speaking of role-playing games, well, I guess not even role-playing games.
This is a good pivot because, so if you've not played Final Fantasy XVI and you're still playing it, or you're going to get to it at some stage and you do not want story spoilers, this is where we ask you to
leave now.
To politely leave for your own safety, because I have finally rolled credits on this game and we are going to talk everything. Definitely,
there are timestamps, so you can see where the next section is.
You can just skip on over to probably game releases, but yeah, for the next bit. So yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Final Fantasy 16 because the Final Fantasy's RPGs, traditional JRPGs, Final Fantasy 16, hardly an RPG. barely. Like I don't even think it's at all fair to call it an RPG because you get experience and you level up, but there's very little of it that makes me go, I can customize. I mean, that's a lie because you can customize your abilities and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like an RPG.
But you can purchase every single ability if you really want to.
Yeah, you can, which I'm grateful for. You can refund and repurchase, whatever. Let's rewind. I finished Final Fantasy 16. What a great game. I agree with what you and others have said that the story definitely falls apart toward the end. Like the last third of the game, I'd say, enters a very strange place because before then it's so well paced, combat feels balanced, and then it just reaches this point where combat is like way too easy. The story just mainlines it to its conclusion, which I didn't hate, but yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a weird ending given that the all the content that had come before it was so strong. So like to give detail, we spoke about the icon battles, like the spectacle of fighting Titan and Garuda and who am I missing? Bahamut. Like those were really great. I mean, I've said it before. It's God of War level scale of whoa, this is something I've never seen before. It's just the scale of it. It's really cool. Like I enjoyed it.
I mean, with Bahamut, you're fighting in space. It's fucking crazy.
It feels like they compound these battles, and each one gets more crazy than the last. And then you have a fight with Odin, and it's just this real diluted experience compared to what came before it. And then the final battle was fun. Like I enjoyed it, but it's just weird that it feels like it's a curve. Like it peaked at Bahamut, and then it's just like a slow downhill in terms of
I totally agree with you.
Spectacle and that sort of thing. And I don't know why that happened. I don't know if it's a thing of your old game design of like they worked really hard in the first part of the game, and then like time restrictions or whatever other factors came into it, and it's like, oh shit, we've got to like wrap this game up. But it's a bit weird because everything that came before was incredible. All that said, I really enjoyed the game overall. I thought it was like in terms of Final Fantasy, it ticked the boxes. Even exceeded my expectations in some regard. Like we've all seen the comparison to Game of Thrones, which I think is fair. The story is very detailed.
I think it's fair in the first half, and then the game
half,
like
fair.
moves very much away from that.
It's this political, this and that, and then it becomes, oh no, the world. Which I guess is fair for every Final Fantasy. Does inevitably become oh no, there's some other force trying to kill or destroy or something. We have to stop it.
The crystals, oh no.
Yeah, but those are just some post-game thoughts. I don't know if you want to touch anything more on the game, any spoiler territory, what you did and didn't like.
Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with you. I still like the story in the third half. I think there are some super, super strong character moments. I hate that they are locked behind the side quests.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about the side quests.
It's crazy to me the level of side quests that are thrown at you in the last third. It's actually obnoxious. And then the level of character development that is behind them. Like you have to get to the very end of them to actually see the rounding out of some very important character arcs, which seems crazy to me. Like I do not understand why they were not interwoven into the main story, because missing those like completely changes your perspective of like Joshua and Jill and like your blacksmith. And
if you just mainline this game, I think which I guess could be said of many games, like you lose a lot of detail if you skip the side quest. But in this game particularly, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the side quests where I can't imagine mainlining this game. What would my feeling have been, like you said, to Joshua? Even there's some touching moments with Gav. There's a really important quest that touches on Jill, on like how her and Clive were close, like since childhood, basically, and they had moments together. If you don't have any of that, it would be so random to like, why are these two so like in love with each other? It doesn't make any sense to me, I don't know. And even like you mentioned, I can't remember his name, but the blacksmith. There's a whole arc there of, this is why he's by himself. This is where he came from. Yeah. There's this big feud, or there's this history. You can just skip all of that and you'd never know. You'd be like, oh, cool. He's just a dude who he just hits swords all day and that's it. It's like, no, there's a really interesting story there, actually. And I think there's a lot of minor characters in the Hideaway, but a lot of them do get a story beats or moments or series of quests.
The nurse has a really good one. And the guy that and I can't for the life of me remember his name now, but the guy that kind of like manages the Hideaway while you're away with the beard.
Yeah.
Otto, great story behind him. Like
the whole thing of even his it's weird. It's weird that a lot of the stuff is just hidden away,
and it's all stuck. I don't think I'm angry that it's stuck behind side quests. I think I'm angry that it's behind bad side quests, like really bad side quests. Yeah. Those are just they're horrible quest design. They make you travel between points just to have conversations.
Yeah.
Or they make you do a bunch of travel just to do one fight and then travel all the way back to have another conversation. They just really bad quests. It's just like old very, design. Very bad. Yeah, it's old, and it's like we've done this and we've already determined that this is a bad way to engage players. Like, so yeah, I fucking laughed when you get told like, okay, this is the point of no return. This is like final fight thing, and the number of side quests that pop up is stupid. It's so stupid, and then on top of it, it becomes like, as you complete one, another one pops up. So you just never know when they're going to end.
Yeah, it just keeps.
So I don't blame people if they were like, fuck this, I'm not doing this. Like, no.
Yeah,
which is a pity. I think that's a real disservice to the quality of writing that's actually on display in those side quests.
But even that part of, like, just to go back to the overall story, that's a part of the story where it's like, oh no, spoiler, the big bad is called Ultima. Who could have seen that one coming? But it is hilarious that there's some more big story moments like, oh, we're going to end this right now. But first we're going to go back to the hideaway. And you go back to the hideaway, it's like, cool, we've had a conversation. Oh my God, there's 35 million side quests. I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah, exactly.
You could have shuffled that content. It would have made way more sense. Like, cool, do my side quest. Now I'm going to go do the final fights. I just thought it was paced weird. And even just some general story things feel completely unresolved, or content was cut. Sorry, that came out very rude. It's unintentional. This whole thing with, so eventually you go to war with old Barnabas, the Odin dominant, who's the king of Waloed, and the whole continent of Ash, and
Ash. That's it. Yeah.
Throughout the story, it actually happens. There's two big moments where you go up against him, and then he literally swipes his sword, and Clive's like, oh, I'm not strong enough.
He fucking smokes you.
He destroys you twice. And every time, oh no, Clive. And then, I don't know, Clive is like, don't worry, Jill. I've got this master plan. And at no point is there a Rocky montage or anything. It's just the next time you fight Barnabas, piss easy boss fight. It's done. I'm like, what happened? There was just no clear growth between the second battle and the third one. I'm like, am I missing a question? What happened?
It was he literally splits the sea with a sword swipe and then nearly kills you and leaves you at the bottom of the ocean. And the very next time you see him, you fucking destroy him. But there is nothing in between those 2 points that happens. There is a small side quest in Ash, and that is it. And I don't understand.
Yeah, there are things like that where I feel that content was maybe cut, or maybe it's lazy writing. It's like, oh yeah, we need to have this really big bad guy, and he's too big to defeat, but we'll have to defeat him, and you just defeat him. There's no, I don't know. In my head,
I think that's a big part why. It's a big part why his fight felt so underwhelming to me, because I was waiting for something to happen. He's going to get you to the brink of death, and then Joshua's going to do something, or something big. But it was a routine fight, and then there isn't even an icon battle. And I was like, what is happening here?
If they flipped that and they had, for example, they have Kupka, the Titan dominant, be the big bad, and that's the fight you have before Ultima. That would fit better.
Yeah, that fight was incredible.
That was a huge scale battle. It felt awesome to watch/play through. That would make way more sense to me. But the way they did it is again, to go to the whole mountain analogy of you peak here, and then it's just this gradual downhill. It's Odin, blah blah blah. But even how you unlock the icons, so spoiler, you get all 8 or 7 of them, and you each time you fight, you're getting your reward is you get that person's icon, because story wise, okay, you beat Garuda, you get the Garuda stuff. You beat Titan, you get Titan. You beat Bahamut, you get Bahamut. Then in terms of story pacing, it's okay, you're not going to fight Jill, but story stuff happens and she gives you Shiva. You're like, oh, okay. And then you fight you think, okay, but the Barnabas...
So just a really weird story moment that...
Yeah, it's okay,
Clive nearly dead at bottom of the ocean. Next thing, round of fire naked.
And
Jill gives you powers.
How did we get you? And then you think okay, well, Barnabas, the big bad guy, there's going to be a huge battle to get Odin. It's you get Odin. It's okay, what happened here? I feel there's crossed wires, or I don't know what happened at Square Enix, but that part of the game really frustrates me. But you know what is the most frustrating thing? And we're going to move on eventually. The lack of a mini-map in that game was the most annoying thing.
Would you keep having to bring up the map?
Why is there no mini-map in the year of 2023 where all the side quests are go talk to this person over there or something? And every time I'm like...
And the little icon that appears over their head only appears when you are literally breathing on their face. So
how did no one in playtesting go, it would be helpful, a mini-map? Just a small version of what I have in the main menu, that would be really helpful. All that said, I know I'm being hard on this. I mean, hard really. But I enjoy this game. I think it's the best Final Fantasy in a long time. Like, I love 15, but I acknowledge it's a bad Final Fantasy. Like, it was definitely one of the weaker entries. And before that, 13 was, like, I enjoyed 13, but acknowledge not a great Final Fantasy. 12 I never played. 10 before that, really good. Like, I'd say this is the best Final Fantasy since 10. Like, it's really a strong return to form, I think, for the franchise. And it again, to go back to what we spoke about earlier, it's weird because it's not really an RPG. So
yeah, it's a very big departure from what Final Fantasy is technically thought of.
Definitely not an RPG. And I wonder, like, well, what do they do for 17? Do they keep this action focus? Do they go to more traditional? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. But if you want anything, I don't know, if you haven't played this game and you're still listening, I don't know why, because we said it's a spoiler cast. It is worth playing. Like, I would recommend it to anyone, whether you're a Final Fantasy fan or not. There's a great story. It's fun to play through.
Yeah.
You know, lots of highs, a couple lows, but great overall.
No, it's a great game, like through and through. I agree with you. I have qualms with it, but I think the measure of a good game is how much I can overlook them and still enjoy the end product. Like, I think I said a while back, like, if I had to put a numerical score on this, I wouldn't give it a 9. I'd probably struggle to give it an 8, but that score isn't indicative of how much fun I had with it and why it will probably be a game that will very easily creep up into, like, my best of the year. Yeah. Like, faults and all, I just had such a good time with its characters and its story, and the combat was really fun. So but I mean, it's a great Final Fantasy, and I want them to experiment more going forward like this.
But I mean, that's fair, because you can look at it and go, objectively, this is what's wrong with the game. But subjectively, I can overlook that stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, objectively, there's a lot wrong with this game, but there's, like, subjective.
If you have to list it down, there's a lot wrong with this game.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is why I think, especially when it comes to reviews, why they are so subjective, because certain people can overlook different things. You know, some things impact the experience for one person more so than the other, or less so than the other. So, like, I can totally understand someone who plays this game and is like, this is a extremely mid game. It's a mid action game. It's not an RPG. I don't like it. And I'll be like, yeah, I understand. I totally get it. But the moments that hit with me, like fighting, well, both of Kupka's fights were just incredible to me. You know, Bahamut's fight, really, really good. And then just the cast of characters, like Clive and Joshua, are like certified, like top 5 Final Fantasy certified leads, in my view. They're just so good. So Clive is just a great Final Fantasy protagonist. Just so good.
I also just want to give a shout out to, who's his voice actor? Is it Ben Starr?
Ben Starr, yeah.
He has to be a nominee for best voice actor at the Game Awards. Like, I think he nailed that role very well.
Ben Starr looks like Clive. It's kind of nuts. Like,
but I can think of so many scenes where I was like, man, I think he owns this character. Like, he is this character. Yeah. So yeah.
Look, he gives Clive a lot of depth, and I think it really shines through. I think the whole cast is actually really good.
Very strong,
but you're right, Clive stands out like as a big you know, he's head and shoulders above the rest in terms of his writing and
not
his delivery.
Not just because he's a swole boy with those.
Oh, he's a big boy. Have you seen that man's chest? He's a big boy.
Chest, yes. You can paint the whole Sistine Chapel on that chest. It's so big. Which that's
oh my God.
That's the best analogy I've ever come
That's a great
with.
image. I love that. Yeah, it's a great image. I love it a lot.
I want someone
to like turn that into a real thing. Yeah.
Cool. That's Final Fantasy 16. Great game. With flaws.
Indeed. Really, really good. I felt a bit like empty when it finished.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
That to me is always a good indicator of like a good game. Of when you roll credits, you sit back and you go, oh man, like, what do I do with my life now?
What do I do now? Yeah.
It's over.
So yeah, I really liked it a lot more than I thought I would, which is always a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cool. So we are going to dive headfirst into game releases now. We're looking at games coming out from today, September 2nd. Can you believe it?
Can't believe
up
it.
until I think it will be September 8th. That is what I got here. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, I'm using GameSpot's list now because VG27 keeps not updating theirs.
Can you pop me a link, please? Because I do not have.
Of course.
Yeah, I suppose I was worrying. I'm like, since we saw that this list isn't being updated anymore, I don't know what we're gonna use.
Few bangers this week. Let's see if that's all of them. Yeah, that's all of them.
Yep.
So first up, we have. Okay, well, first up, I'm not actually sure what this is, but Chance of a Senar coming to Switch and PC September 5th. Ruin Factory 3 special, just special, not special edition, just special.
Nice.
Switch and PC September 5th. Big one for the week, Baldur's Gate 3 coming to PlayStation 5
Good God.
September 6th. On the very same day, Starfield launches, I guess, again for PC and Xbox Series X and S September 6th. So the two RPG bangers of the year on the same day.
It is wild to me that in the whole year, those two just somehow ended up coming out on the same day. And
then on top of it, de facto PS5 exclusive
quote
for now.
Unquote, that is a PS5 exclusive.
Until October, I guess. But
God.
yeah. Anonymous : Code. I don't know if that's a typo or if that's how it's meant to be, but PC, Switch, and PS4, September 8th. Fae Farm coming to Switch, September 8th. I think that's another one of those farming, Stardew Valley type things, I think.
Get out.
And then Synced coming to PC on September 8th. I saw a GIF of this because it was what John Lineman from Digital Foundry shared it. And he was like, has anyone played... Okay, no, mate. I might be thinking of a different game. This doesn't look like the same game. Okay, he shared a GIF of this first-person shooter that had some ridiculous locomotion. And he was like, has anyone played this? Because this looks great. And for some reason, I thought it was this game, but this looks third person, so it's not this. Never mind.
You darned it. Mess up.
Done did mess up. It's okay. But that's coming to PC on September 8th. It's a free-to-play competitive shooter.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's it. That is
nice.
it. Should bounce
news. That's sweet news. What is the headline this week?
Super Mario looks like a banger.
Oh my God. Who would have thunk? A boy Mario.
This game, man. So you haven't watched the direct,
haven't watched
correct?
The direct.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to be like, yeah.
There's so much happening.
Looks so good. I have not
so
watched
much happening.
direct.
I mean, I briefly, I didn't focus intently on it because I was busy doing other things, but I saw things happening in the corner of my eye.
You're like,
and there's a lot to this game. A lot happening. Firstly, looks beautiful. Really, really good. Got a cool little overworld map. You're going after Bowser. I mean, shocker.
Spoiler alert.
And you get to play as a bunch of different characters who can all kind of take advantage of these different powers that you find in and around Mario Wonder. So one of the cool things that I noticed was that you can kind of store a power. So you have a inventory pack where you can keep a power in cache, sort of like a Mario Kart. Same thing. You always have two powers, essentially, one active and one that is just kind of chilling. And you can swap between the two at any given time.
Okay.
So that lets you do, a bunch of things like interact with the level in very different ways. One of the powers that Mario got was a hat that was like a drill that allowed him to drill into bricks and whatever, but it also allows you to drill into the ground and go underneath sort of areas that are closed off, so you can get to areas that you otherwise wouldn't be able to access. Then of course there's Elephant Mario. That's the big one. Everyone loves Elephant Mario. Everyone hates Elephant Mario on Yoshi, free Yoshi 2022.
I love the memes that came out.
So there's a lot of those puzzles. I'm not going to prattle them all off because like if you don't want to know about them all, then yeah. But there's some cool. And I think one of the coolest ones was like a bubble sort of power, which allows you to kind of blow bubbles to kill enemies from a distance. But the bubbles can also be used as a platforming piece. So you can like blow a bubble, let it drift in front of you, sprint, hits it just at the apex, and then you can reach inaccessible areas. So like there's going to be a ton of hidden shit that really, really good platforming folk are going to find. So yeah. And then, so these are all separate to what the game calls its like wonder transformations. So these are initiated by stumbling upon a wonder flower. And they're kind of like remix levels. So you've seen examples of this where like the green pipes like become sentient and move around like snakes, which is very, very disturbing. They can sometimes change Mario into a Goomba. They sometimes change the whole perspective of the level. So it goes from 3D to like top-down 2D.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm not sure if you have to engage with these or like if it's just a way to give some levels replayability or something like that. I don't know. But they look, based off the ones they showed, the sort of variety between the two, I'm curious to see what other like ones they haven't showed.
Yes.
Will be present. So yeah.
My goodness, there's just such a wide cast of characters as well, and I'm here for it. What the hell is a Nabbit?
So it's a cool game. Like I'm super, super keen to give this a go. Like there's a lot of invention on display here that I think's been missing from a lot of 2D Mario games. Like the Super Mario Bros. Wii U were fun, but they were not on this sort of level of like, differentiation from other Mario games. So yeah, I'm very excited to play this. It's got local co-op and then some weird like fucking Dark Souls online co-op, which is super weird. You can kind of see other players running around your world. Yeah, it kind of is. Like you can see other people running around in the world, and if you die, they can revive you.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting.
Can you leave notes for other players?
Yeah.
Turn back.
My God, hole ahead.
Mushroom ahead.
Yeah. But it's coming out in October. Let me find
2 months.
October 20th. Yeah, so it's like soon. It's so soon. Oh, look at Elephant Mario. He's just so cute.
Bless Elephant Mario. He's just the cutest thing.
He must be protected at all costs.
He must. No, Yoshi must be protected at all costs.
No, Yoshi hasn't been protected. Nintendo doesn't give a fuck about Yoshi, clearly.
I mean...
damn. Elephant Mario can run across gaps? That's cool.
It's a Mario game. I think it's one of those franchises where I know you'll get the typical kind of gamer who's just not into platforming, and they'll look at Mario and go, like I don't get it. But if you're into Mario and Nintendo's platforming nonsense, this looks fantastic. So I'm very keen to see.
I'm so keen to see this on an OLED Switch because I think it's going to look fucking good.
Shiny.
It's going to look good. Yeah.
Cool. So that's we just got a showcase on that, basically, giving us a...
Yeah, it was like a 20-minute direct, yeah. And there's a new Switch coming out, like a red OLED Switch alongside this. Like if you somehow don't have a Switch yet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What should we bounce to? We talk about the price of a PlayStation Plus going up quickly. It's a lot.
Jesus, yeah, by a considerable amount, yeah.
So if you're sitting on a PlayStation, when does this price change go up? Was it instantly? They went bam. That's it.
No, September 6th.
Okay, so if you need to up your PS Plus, you've got your annual subscription expiring or not. It might be worth topping up now because the service is going up by, what is the percentage floating around, like 30% or something? 25-30%?
Yeah, it's around 30% for like an annual. I don't know which tier is exactly 30%, but yeah,
regardless, it's going up across the board.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say other than I think we've seen fans giving Sony a lot of backlash, which I think is fair given that 30% is a pretty significant price increase. It's not like a 5 or 10%, which I would expect that, you know. But just a quick breakdown. PlayStation Plus Essential 12 month is now $80. PlayStation Plus Extra 12 months is now $135. And PlayStation Plus Premium is now $160. Which
it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. Especially if you're paying that upfront. It's like, but then you can get into the comparison of like, okay, but a game costs $60, $70. It's not that bad, but I don't know. It feels like a very aggressive price increase, and I don't quite know what the reasoning behind it is. Yeah. I don't know.
It's I mean, Xbox or Microsoft did a price increase on Game Pass as well, not so long ago. And you can kind of see that they are, you know, PlayStation's kind of moving up to a sort of on par thing with Microsoft. But I think the jump to get there has just been more drastic, more jarring. Yeah. And then on top of it, I just think that PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium specifically have not delivered the same sort of content as like a Game Pass.
Yeah.
So you can sit here and say that, oh, PlayStation Plus Premium and Game Pass Ultimate are the same price, but like Game Pass Ultimate is across 2 platforms, firstly, and just the breadth of content there is just much, much higher. Yeah. You're also getting like big games like Starfield on release day. So yeah, listen, people are going to pay this anyway, well, at least the $80 essential tier, because like online games are still behind that. So it's just crap. I think it's, I think a 30% increase on anything is just insane. And Sony is rightly getting flack for this move. But yeah, it won't change. It won't change, but it's good to see that there's sort of like universal like pushback on this. Like, this is not okay.
Yeah. Should we touch on the Starfield drama we touched on earlier? So you just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the long and the short of it is that a whole lot. Some publications did not get review code. Eurogamer put out a piece literally just titled Eurogamer and Starfield, why our review will be late. And basically detailing like why they won't hit the review embargo because no code. Can't review a game if you don't have the code. But it's funny because I think it has been updated here. But yeah, so update 1, an hour after the publication of this blog, Eurogamer was provided Starfield review code by Bethesda, which is just wow. Like I don't know what the original reasoning was from Bethesda. Like I can't imagine it was an oversight, someone going like, whoops, we just forgot to send Eurogamer a code, or
definitely not.
Yeah, or someone's like, oh shit, they're calling us out, give them the code.
It seemed to be quite widespread around the UK. After Eurogamer published this, there were a number of UK publications that were like, yeah, we don't have code either. So it's a weird thing. I just don't know if Bethesda was very careful in curating who they gave code to, or as you can probably talk to, how PR companies across different regions are sometimes out of sync with one another. So like, the US PR region might have been far more lax with who they gave code to, because like for all intents and purposes, I knew loads of people in the US that were playing, even people that weren't really necessarily going to review it. Like everyone in the US that wanted code seemed to be getting code, whereas in the UK it was far more specific. Case in point, Digital Foundry, who is owned by Eurogamer, it is a Eurogamer publication, received code. And it was only after, as they specify in the update here, that when Eurogamer questioned why they hadn't received the code, that they were told that they were not going to be getting one. It was not available by Bethesda, and that they explicitly could not use the one that was provided to Digital Foundry. So that tells me there was some sort of like there was a very careful choice made there to give one to Digital Foundry because they are the de facto, performance, blah, 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 investigators, and not one to Eurogamer because they didn't want a review done. And the reason they got one an hour after publication is because this is just bad publicity.
Yeah.
Like a publisher is not they don't have to provide review code. It is a privilege to publications, and it helps them do their job. A publication can always buy a game at launch. It doesn't help the consumers who maybe want to purchase the game, but for all intents and purposes, reviews are part of the PR cycle because good reviews create good PR. Yeah. So if a PR company or a publisher like Bethesda is worried that a review will do the opposite, they are well within their rights to withhold code, but they must also understand the consequences of what that does image-wise when a publication is going, hey, our review is not going to be up because they didn't want to give us code, but they gave other people code.
Yeah.
Now that starts becoming okay, why?
Yeah.
If what it's happened? A blanket, no one gets code, then it's that happened with Doom. Bethesda went through this before where they were we are no longer going to give early review code for any of our games. And Doom 2016 was the first game, and everyone was game is definitely bad. Something wrong with that, and it ended up being fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually Bethesda moved away from that idea, but they're still very picky with South Africa, no one got review code.
Yeah.
You've got certain publications that are completely blacklisted, like Kotaku has been blacklisted by Bethesda for years. Even their editor-in-chief, Steven Totilo, who's no longer at Kotaku, is still blacklisted by Bethesda. Even though he's at a completely different publication.
Do they publish a hit
They
piece?
know. These people keep track of writers, their opinions. They have dossiers on specific reviewers, and it's not been uncommon for me to see where a publication has to put forth 3 or 4 names of potential reviewers, and the publishers will go, we are not going to provide you code if that's going to be your reviewer. And it shouldn't be like that. But that's how it is. They know, this person is very critical, or this person has these opinions, and we don't think it's going to result in a good review for our game.
Yeah.
So this shit happens. It's crap, and Bethesda rightly got raked over the coals for it. So
yeah. It's love to /hate to see it.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077, the free 2.0 update. You included this. What's included and what's not?
Yeah, I wanted to include this because I think it's kind of insane how much is included without buying the expansion.
It's like a full base
and I just wanted to
rework.
make that distinction. Yeah. So when the Phantom Liberty comes out, which is what, later this month?
I think it's
Jesus. There's so many fucking auto-playing videos on Kotaku. It just scared the shit out of me.
September 26th.
Jesus Christ. September 26th. It's launching alongside what CD Projekt Red is calling Cyberpunk 2.0, which is their whole, for all intents and purposes, a revamp of the game from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool is that the most important changes from that are actually free. They're coming to the base game. So you can really give the base game another spin before deciding if you want to spend money on the expansion and continue that adventure.
Yeah.
So for example, this is what's coming for free to the base game. Redesigned skill trees and perks. So the redesigned skill trees are more about now giving you active skills and perks as opposed to mostly passive numerical changes, which is, I think, part of the reason why I didn't vibe with the role-playing in the game at all.
Yeah.
There is a brand new skill tree called Relic, which is exclusive to the expansion because it ties into the story of that expansion, so you won't get access to that. You'll get a revamped cyberware and capacity system. So the cyberware is going to sort of mimic what happens in Edge Runners with cyberpsychosis. So the more cyberware you put on, you will increase a meter that if you go too far will put you in cyberpsychosis range, which I think is a pretty cool idea.
That's cool.
And improved vehicle combat and car chases,
Nice.
combat AI improvements, so the enemies won't just stand up and let you shoot them in the head. A big one, a new police system, because that police system in the main game is fucking trash.
Yeah.
It is so shit. So that is a big one. UI and UX improvements. So I agree with this, where Cyberpunk's original UI is very hard to read. It's like, it looks really good, but I do not know how to pass a lot of the information on my HUD.
Yeah.
So they are revamping this in the update. There are loot, items, and crafting changes. So the way you craft things, new weapons, clothes, and items for you to grab, new radio stations to listen to. So then only in the Phantom Liberty DLC is a new district, Dogtown, where the new story takes place, brand new storyline and characters, new quest, gigs, boss fights, and more, again, specific to the story. New types of vehicles and airdrops. So there's these new like dynamic events that might happen throughout the city, which you won't have access to if you don't have the story. The new relic skill tree, new items, weapons, cyberware, and fashion, which are specific to the new area. Vehicle missile launchers. Not sure why that's exclusive, but that's pretty cool.
And then this is a defining feature.
Yeah, missile launchers on your fucking motorbike. Yeah.
Nice.
And then the level cap increase, which is kind of there to necessitate the new quest.
Yeah.
So like the expansion content feels like stuff that is very specific to the expansion.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, you should buy this expansion so you can get this gameplay
so you
change.
can get a rocket launcher on your car.
Yeah, well, okay, aside from that, I think CD Projekt Red's been very good at this. They've acknowledged that like they want to revamp this game so more people play it. So let's not lock people out and make it seem like we're making you pay for a version of the game that we kind of almost promised from the get-go.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm very excited to give this another go.
I will take my hats off to CD Projekt Red as well for Cyberpunk did launch in a questionable state for a number of reasons, whatever. But I feel that...
When last did you hear about a game being pulled from sale?
Yeah.
Because of how bad it was.
But I think they've done really well to keep supporting this game and fixing it and overhauling it, which...
Absolutely.
It's to their credit. It's to expect it from that sort of shooter because they are good at doing that. I'm very keen. I won't necessarily replay Cyberpunk because I just, as much as I enjoyed it first time around for the record. But in terms of time, I'm keen to just try out, dip into the expansion, see what's up.
The expansion looks sick. Like it, I like the whole espionage vibe it has going for it. So
yeah. Last few pieces of news. Sadly, the Saints Row developer Volition Games has been shut down, which I guess is like I don't like to say it because I don't like any studio closing down, but I guess it's not hard to see why it was closed down following the poor Saints Row that came out last year, and before that, I think they had Agents of Mayhem. Like I think the studio has just not had good games for a while. So it's sad. I didn't know that they had been around for 30 years. It's a really long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, listen, Saints Row, the one that came out, was it last year?
It was last year.
Last year. It's a bad game. I think it's a very poor game. I don't think it's the sort of game that sinks a studio like Volition, especially when they are backed by Embracer, and the amount of money there. I think this is just a very easy way to recoup some costs from Embracer's side after the shit show of a financial year they've been having.
Yeah.
With lost investment and underperforming games, and it's just horrible that an entire studio closure was like required to kind of recoup that. Because Volition had kind of been amalgamated in with Gearbox, and Gearbox was kind of managing them. And then this has only been a few months after that, and they're like done. Game over. That's a lot of people losing their jobs, and that's really sad. So yeah, and now what happens to franchises like Saints Row and Red Faction, because Volition did Red Faction. I think we have not seen anything good come out of Embracer yet. They keep purchasing studios, and they keep closing down studios, and they keep putting out bad products.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee this slowing down. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something like a Gearbox disappearing in the next couple of years.
Which is wild to me because Gearbox was at such a peak.
Yeah.
Last two pieces of news very quickly. Power Wash Simulator, the game you didn't know needed such good crossover DLC but does, is getting Back to the Future content. This article is called Power Wash Simulator's Back to the Future DLC will let you clean some serious shit. Where we're going.
So they've been to Bikini Bottom, Croft Manor, Midgar in Final Fantasy VII, and the Grim Dark Future. Oh, Warhammer. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's Back to the Future.
It's just such a, like, I take my hat off to the studio as well, because what a clever way to keep your seemingly simple game about literally cleaning stuff top of mind.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's genius.
I know
it's so clever.
A couple of people who have played the content despite, like, we were joking, I think in office yesterday, there's two people, Noel and John Michael, talking about playing, like, cleaning Bikini Bottom and Midgar. Like, neither of them have any affiliation to, any connection with Final Fantasy VII, but you best believe that they play through the content anyway, because it was there. So
of course. They want to clean Cloud's Buster Sword.
Good God. But it's funny because you think of games like Fortnite, where often Fortnite is a case of a skin gets dropped and I go, oh man, what a clever partnership. I'd never have thought about that. Terminator, for example, there's this random thing you'd never expect to see in a children's third-person shooter. For those who don't, that was inverted commas. I don't really mean that. But I think it's the same level of Power Wash Sim is the same thing where you never know what they're going to do. They can pick anything and go, well, we're going to take this iconic scene or this area or just lean into this franchise and have people clean some stuff, which is just hilarious. I love it.
It's cool, and I think they can keep this going for however long they want. There's so many ideas flying around. I think Noelle actually mentioned Ghostbusters. I think it was her.
That'd be really good, yeah. Or
that'd be a good
Darren. Well, speaking of hilarious crossovers that make no sense but still fit, Lara Croft has been added as an operator bundle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
There's nothing in Call of Duty that surprises me anymore. Just before Lara Croft, we got Nicki Minaj. In Call of Duty. So like anything can happen.
Do we have Snoop Dogg in Call of Duty yet? Because
I'm pretty sure he's been there at some point.
Fantastic.
We had Bruce Willis as well with his bare feet.
Really?
From Die Hard, yeah.
That is hilarious. So this is an interesting one because typically Call of Duty, I mean, they've done game crossovers, but like you've just said, they tend to leverage celebrities. Like you can buy, if I'm not mistaken, a Neymar Junior bundle or something, like football players. It's just such a weird thing to me.
Yeah, that's also true. You can play as like Neymar and Messi in Call of Duty.
Which is such a wild thing.
Yeah.
But now Lara Croft, your favorite Tomb Raider, is an operator, complete with dual pistols and I don't know if this look leverages any comics or movies, but I've never seen her look like this.
So that's the interesting thing. There's a lot of people who think this is
a reboot,
a sneak peek at what Lara Croft will look like in the reboot from Crystal Dynamics, who are working on one
something
at Embracer for we were just talking about Embracer, but
RIP.
But yeah, I mean, it would seem weird that there would be such a highly detailed model that would need their sort of sign off, as the owners of the IP, and it being like a once-off thing. So it's a cool look. It's a very like modern, harking back to the old.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
Lara Croft look.
Same, so. She's got definitely the iconic outfit. Which
her ponytail is real long.
It's super long. It's going to get in the way when you're swinging from ledge to ledge, surely.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's
But
paper.
she's got some like crazy execution animations in Call of Duty. It's
that blows
kind of insane.
It blows my mind because I do think with franchises like this, I can tell you now there's a style guide or brand guidelines or character guidelines of like Lara Croft is, this is a damn example, but like Lara Croft is family friendly. She cannot point her weapons at the screen at any point in any promotional material. Like that's the sort of level of detail you'll find in a guideline. But the executions I've seen, man, they threw those guidelines right out the window if they even exist.
My God, they're so over the top. They are crazy.
Like, man, I don't know if I needed to see Lara Croft murdering someone in cold blood.
Just like curb stomping someone and then like blowing them away with their pistols. Yeah, it's kind of
wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go. She's now in Call of Duty, and maybe we'll see her in her own new game soon because it has been a long time. So I think it's
I mean they've definitely announced that they're working on one. When that comes out, not sure.
Don't know. But yeah, that is all the news this week. Which means, you know what that means.
It's time for questions.
For a second, I thought you were gonna like, no, please tell me.
I don't know what it means.
What does this mean?
If you want to send us questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on social media at Checkpoint Chat.
Checkpoint Chat. So
I think you said we have one or two this week.
We have one this week. Actually, we have two. I lie. So the first one comes from at Deadpool2, who first asked, "What must I upgrade in my PC first, CPU or GPU?" To which I replied, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Just give us some context because I don't know what you have." So I replied with,
"Okay, fair."
He's got a GPU. We can move on to the next question if that's your final answer. That's cool. So he says he has a Ryzen 5 3500, a GTX 1650, 16 gigs of RAM, a 1 terabyte SSD, and a 400 watt PSU.
400?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like
a
new graphics card and a new PSU.
Hold on. What? An AMD 5300? What?
3500. A Ryzen 5?
3500. Oh my God. Okay.
See, this changes things.
Okay. I'll answer this way. If you can only upgrade one, it would be the GPU for sure. The problem is you'll have to upgrade your power supply. There's no question. Small. 400 watts is not going to cope with anything new. I would get up to like a 600 or 700, close around there. It would be the most drastic change that you see while playing your games. And then you can look at upgrading the CPU to help match that further down the line. I think if you upgrade just your CPU, you're going to see zero to no discernible difference right now, because right now with the 1650, you are mostly GPU limited in most of your games. So increasing the CPU will not help that.
Yeah.
What will happen is if you upgrade your GPU, you might not hit the super high frame rates that you might want because you will now be CPU limited, but you'll still be hitting over 60, no problem. Like your CPU won't struggle with that.
Yeah.
If you want to turn on fancy things like ray tracing and stuff like that, then you might start running into issues because that's a bit more CPU dependent as well. But yeah, I think if you can only do one right now, your GPU is always 100% the thing that makes the biggest difference. And considering your system, it definitely will. Like that Ryzen series of CPUs is old now, but it can still get away with things. Like it can still be sort of okay. But yeah, upgrading to a new Ryzen 7000 CPU, but on a 1650, you're going to see zero difference.
Yeah, it'll not make a difference.
Yeah. And that will just frustrate you because you'll spend a lot of money there because you'll need a new motherboard as well.
Yeah. New RAM probably.
The one thing you can maybe look at doing, because if you're on a 3500, that means you're on AM3. Or was it? Yeah, AM3, which means you can actually upgrade to the 5000 series of AMD CPUs. And like, I wouldn't advise spending a ton of money on that because that is essentially a CPU range that is now dead because they've moved on. But you can probably find someone selling their one for much, much cheaper. And you could upgrade to like a 5600, or if you're even lucky, a 5800 X3D or something like that. And if you can get that cheap, you can maybe offset that on the price of like a GPU and actually do both. And then you wouldn't have to replace your motherboard or your RAM because the slot's the same, and you would save a ton of money there, and it will be a marked increase. So but yeah, long story short, GPU definitely.
So the same answer you had before,
and definitely a PSU, like 400 watts. You are pushing it. I mean, with your current config, it's fine, but like anything up that, you'll need more.
And then last question, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Cathal? Cathal? Cathal?
Cathal.
Cathal?
Oh, I know. We know that them. Twitter handle.
Yeah. I just never had to pronounce it before.
Out loud.
So they say sub-services. With the recent price hikes across the board, whether in gaming, music, or movies or series, do you think the bubble for these services is close to popping? Especially with the increasing amount of them vying for attention.
Oh, like streaming services,
I think,
and subscriptions
across the board,
just in general.
I don't know if they'll go away anytime soon.
I think people are becoming a bit more savvy with what they subscribe to out of necessity. Like, I think there definitely was a point like a couple of years ago where it was like every service under the sun that existed I was subscribed to, just because like it was affordable to do so, and it felt like you had to be. Now it's like, oh, if my Amazon Prime subscription lapses, or like my Disney one, I never renewed after the first year because I just don't, I watched very few series on there. I watched Star Wars things, and that's pretty much it. So I'm only subscribed to a couple of things at a time, and I've become far more aware of what I am subscribed to and what I use. Case in point, PS Plus. I don't play a lot online, so I just haven't been subbed to PS Plus.
We share subscription. We haven't had a subscription.
We haven't re-upped it
time.
in like half a year.
Yeah.
I stay subscribed to Game Pass because I make use of Game Pass like frequently. So yeah, I don't know. I used to be subscribed. Maybe this is just like silly, but I used to be subscribed to Spotify and Apple Music because there were certain albums that were present on one and not the other. I don't do that anymore. So I pay for this. I pay for the services that I use and the ones that I still feel provide me with value. Like my $80 to YouTube every month so that I don't have to watch fucking adverts is really important to me because of the amount of YouTube I watch.
Yeah.
If I was watching a video here or there, it wouldn't make sense, but I'm watching it every single day.
Yeah.
So, in the same way that I'm paying for Spotify because I listen to its music every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think people have become a lot more savvy, but I do agree that the more they keep pushing, the more people are going to have to make concessions on what they subscribe to. And that just brings down profits, every time. And then it forces them to get more drastic with either pricing or content. And it's just a sort of a death spiral.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
can foresee it becoming a problem. It is becoming a problem.
Yeah. I think it depends what it is, but if you're talking streaming platforms like Netflix or Disney Plus or any of the millions that exist now, I think if you're the sort of like you said, people are just becoming more savvy. Like, I'm very happy to reach a point where I have not watched a certain number of shows and then subscribe for a month or two and catch up on them and then yeet out and bounce to something else. Like, because I can't really justify staying subscribed to everything because I don't consume nearly enough content to justify that. I don't know if they'll go away anytime soon, but it is subscription-based services. Like you see it in everything, even software now. They exist because I think it's just a clever way to make more money as well. Like it really frustrates me that if you want to buy Photoshop, for example, I can't just go, you know what, I want to try Photoshop. I'm just going to buy the 2022 version. I'm going to pay a fixed amount and that's that. Instead, you have to have a subscription now. And to their credit, it's a thing of, okay, yes, you pay the subscription, but you always have the most up-to-date software. But sometimes maybe I just want to have a once-off purchase. I don't want to be locked into a subscription. I don't know. It's it's a weird time we live in, and I don't know how sustainable it is or where it's going, for that matter.
Yeah, it's this weird thing where, like you said, everything is a service now. So there's this constant need to keep making sure that you're providing value for the because customers are, I work at a company that follows this model. We are a SaaS business, a subscription as a service, or software as a service, subscription as a service.
So you just nearly lost your job.
So all of our clients pay subscriptions to use our platform, but we are constantly improving that platform, constantly adding features, and we've only increased the prices once in the last 2 years. So it's like we keep looking for ways to have value adds, like big clusters of features can be packaged as add-ons that you can maybe purchase if you don't use everything else. Like there's a very fine balance between like keeping clients happy, because people are like, oh, people just keep their subscriptions running. You'll be surprised they won't. Yeah. Like, especially when they are not like a $5 subscription. Like, people scrutinize the value they're getting quite hectically.
Yeah.
And they are very, very quick to, to just be like, I'm done with this, I'm not using this, and you'll never get them back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I as long as companies start realizing that they have to keep up the quality to justify their rising prices, then I think we'll be fine. I think the problem, and you see it mostly with streaming services like Netflix and Disney now, they are going the complete opposite route, where they are increasing their prices and they're just cutting content because they are trying to recoup costs.
Yeah.
And that is the complete opposite of what people want. So you are actively making the platform worse that you're asking them to pay more for.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that is sort of like a death spiral. And I think PS Plus is in a very similar boat. A 30% increase for the same content that people have been saying has been lackluster for a very long time. It's like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The landscape 3-4 years ago was so different to what it is now. And I think it's going to continue evolving in that same way.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there we go. That is all the questions for this week. I don't think we've got anything else. I haven't seen anything else. So let's just leave it there.
Okay. I trust you.
I mean, I'm checking.
If you also want to send us questions that Matthew may or may not have lost, you can also email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media at checkpointchat. And yeah, that has been episode 223. Sorry, 232, not 23.
Nice.
Of Checkpoint Chat. As always, we thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. We hope you have a delightful week ahead. It's getting warm here.
Happy
finally,
spring
thank
day.
God.
Nice.
It's getting cold at Matty. It's not great.
It's still warm, thankfully.
No, wait till it's fucking snowing out that window that I can see there.
You do know there's going to come a point where we're podcasting and it's dark. It's dark outside.
Dark. Yeah, no. It's
terrifying. Cool.
Have a great week. We will see you next time on Checkpoint Chat. Goodbye.
Bye.